Welcome back to Edgbaston, day 3. About to get underway. Chris Washworth to get us up and running.
Yes, good morning everybody. Welcome to Edgbaston for day 3 of Warwickshire versus Kent. Kent in a bit of a pickle, needing 264 to avoid an innings defeat. They're 157 for 3. Andy leaning on 17, Joey Everson on 11. Kent need at least a couple of heroes over the next day and the next 2 days. They really need to bat for the thick end of 2 days to save this game. Rushworth is in from the city end, from the pavilion end, and Everson leans forward and defends.
Hopefully you're hearing us okay online. Annoyingly, I can hear myself in my headphones, which is a pain. But other than that, I think everyone's hearing us all right. So Rushworth in, and bowls and driven away by Joey Everson out towards mid-off. Couple of slips, point, cover, mid-on, mid-off, mid-wicket, deep square and a long leg. I'm Ben Watts from BBC Radio Kent. Brian Halford alongside me for BBC WM today. Also from the ECB Reporters Network. I think Molly in the studio might have fixed my headphone repeat issues, which is good, as this one is drilled away off the back foot by Joey Everson. There we go, all good. And a single to get Kent up and running in the day. And well, Brian, your report last night was themed around Lady Luck not shining on Kent, with a couple of tough late calls. The dismissals of Daniel Bower-Drummond, LBW for 78 and Harry Finch for 38.
That was the last thing you need is any time, but when you're battling against a massive challenge anyway, it really was rotten luck for Kent. 2 rotten decisions.
Rushworth bowls defended away out towards backward point. Yeah, I spoke to Daniel Bower-Drummond last night, and I think he'd sort of calmed down by that point. There were a couple of slightly more irate faces within the dressing room who maybe still hadn't kind of accepted the situation. They looked a little bit chirpier this morning when they were out there warming up as I was walking around the ground and they were kicking a football around. But yeah, last night I think there was still a sort of few raw emotions in the dressing room as Rushworth bowls, leaning defends this one back up the pitch. But yeah, Daniel Bower-Drummond himself sort of said, you know, it was a shame that him and Harry Finch couldn't get through to stumps, and it would have given them a much better chance going into this day. And I sort of pointed out, well, that wasn't really your fault necessarily, the two of you. And he said, yeah, well, it was a shame that our partnership was broken in those circumstances, which, you know, is about as magnanimous a way as you can put it, perhaps, yeah, as an opposition captain.
A very dignified response. I mean, it's always very frustrating to be sawn off, isn't it, of course, but particularly so when Bower-Drummond and Finch had batted so well. They did 116 for the second wicket.
One moment, BBC local radio update on the way. Yeah, and we're just underway for day 3 here. Warwickshire with the ball in hand, trying to take the remaining Kent wickets to give themselves potentially an innings victory. Kent trailing by 106 runs. They're 158 for 3 second time around. It was their first innings score that, of course, put them in bother in the match. All out for 156. Warwickshire making 420 all out in reply, a double hundred for Will Rhodes. A couple of tough wickets last night. A couple of decisions that went against Kent. Drummond LBW for 78, and then Harry Finch caught seemingly off his shoulder, which of course isn't actually out. And yeah, Kent having to battle on today with Jack Leaning and Joey Everson at the crease. And then elsewhere, Surrey and Sussex very much in command of their matches. Surrey leading by 381 runs, Notts 144 for 3 in their first innings, and then Sussex declared on 607 for 8 yesterday, and have got Derbyshire 6 down for 178. So both of those two teams are going along nicely. Commentary of all of the matches is available via the BBC Sport app and website, and you can even say to your smart speaker, ask BBC Sounds to play for this game, Warwickshire against Kent, Day 3. There we go, got that bit out of the way as Hannon-Dalby's in.
Hannon-Dalby bowls to Jack Leaning, who is solidly forward in defence. Yes, just to tidy up what we were talking about last night's really unfortunate conclusion to the day for Kent. They're battling up a huge hill, and Drummond and Finch batted really well. 116 for the second wicket, within touching distance of stumps, and if Kent had got through with just one out overnight, then they would be thinking, yeah, we can battle this one out. And then Drummond gets a really tough LBW call, and Harry Finch is awarded out caught off his shoulder. So that is a tough double for Kent, as leaning forward again in defence to Hannon-Dalby, who was the beneficiary of those two umpiring decisions. And let's face it, I'm sure Ollie Hannon-Dalby would point out that he's had many a plum LBW turned down over the years. And he's got 3 for 27, and nobody deserves a bit of luck more than the excellent Ollie Hannon-Dalby. But it has given Kent, if they had a mountain to climb in the first place, it's a bit higher now. Just 2 slips, which surprises me a little bit, with the Bears so much on top. As Hannon-Dalby comes in, this one's well down the leg side, and Burgess takes.
And of course we talk about those 2 late wickets last night, but actually these two have already faced 30 odd balls each, so they did actually have to fend off, what was it, like the final 10 overs last night?
It was 10 overs from the end when Drummond was out, so that really could have almost sealed the match, couldn't it, if these two hadn't dug in and batted really well in the closing overs. So Ben, Kent need probably a couple of centurions here. How many of you, the Kent fellas, have got that in them? Obviously these two, and we are expecting Miayi to bat.
Yeah, I think it depends if Miayi bats and how fit he is. He's certainly capable, having got a double ton last week.
Hannon-Dalby is in again, and this takes leading on the pad. Kent will cringe every time there's an appeal, but this one was very high, and I think there was a bit of bat in it as well. And Jack Leaning is safe. The end of Ollie Hannon-Dalby's over, and Kent are 159 for 3 on a very lovely, sunny, warm morning here at Edgbaston and Warwickshire, who of course badly need a victory. It would be their first in the Championship this season. They have played very good cricket in this game to get well on top, but what they will be very grateful for is a weather forecast that will allow them to if they need it, all of today and all of tomorrow. There's absolutely no bad weather in the forecast.
Yeah, I think the forecast is pretty set fair, isn't it? So here comes Rushworth. Joey Everson pushes this one away out towards mid-wicket. And yeah, for all the quibbling about those couple of decisions last night, Warwickshire have bossed the game largely. Minus maybe a couple of sessions. Well, yesterday afternoon, arguably, Kent managed to battle back and take quite a few quick wickets and kind of mop up the Warwickshire tail quite quickly. 420 all out, could have been a lot more. And then, yeah, 100 partnership between Drummond and Finch in that session. But then both removed and Compton out as well, so Warwickshire coming back into it as Everson defends away back up the pitch. So yeah, in the majority, Warwickshire have been the better team in the game and have set themselves up to win it.
They have, and that's down largely to their seamers, isn't it? Hannon-Dalby and Rushworth, high quality seamers as they have been for so many years. 3 wickets apiece, little blast from Michael Booth, 3 wickets too, and then Will Rhodes with 201, his second career double century. on his anti-penultimate appearance for Warwickshire, a great innings.
Clipped away by Joey Everson out towards mid-wicket.
It was put to him last night. Ben mentioned to Rhodes. Alex asked him about Warwickshire's collapse late on from 364 for 4 to 420 all out, and he said, well, they just wanted to try and get the last bonus point, because a couple of times in the recent seasons 1 point has proved critical in the final table, so they just thought they'd got a big lead, let's try and get that extra point.
Rushworth bowls. Oh, that goes past the outside edge, but no edge through to the wicketkeeper. Yeah, that's interesting to hear, actually, because I feel like it's a carrot that teams don't go after enough, to be honest. A lot of the time you see, well, and from a Kent point of view, I'm pretty sure they've missed out on a batting bonus point by about 5 runs 3 times this season. And you think, of course, surely there should have been more of a concerted effort to get it.
Yeah.
Especially with the bat. And so Rushworth again goes past the outside edge. Everson was on the walk on that particular occasion as well.
Well, Warwickshire have, I think I'm right in saying, more bonus points than anyone else in the First Division, which has really saved their bacon in a lot of ways, because they haven't won a game yet. Of course, this season again, you do get quite generous points for a draw. But when you think of how tight the last game and the equation can be in the final days, then there's a lot of sense for really applying yourselves to get every bonus point you can.
Yeah, for sure. Rushworth clipped away into the leg side through square leg by Joey Everson for a single. Yeah, because obviously the Kent supporters that are watching and listening in, either via the BBC Sport app and website or on the Warwickshire live stream, while they may be resigned to the possibility of Kent going down, it's still to be decided potentially. I mean, it's all still to be decided, but realistically, who's going to join them? And obviously Worcestershire's win against Kent last week has kind of put a cat amongst the pigeons a little bit.
It has. It's really dragged Nottinghamshire and Lancashire into the mix as well. Warwickshire play Worcestershire next, so that's a huge game at New Road, a huge derby game, and it could be very, very tight, and 1 point could make you safe or send you down. Hannon-Dalby takes Everson on the pad. I don't think there was any bat in that as they scamper a run. Yes, there was a bit of inside edge on that. So a single.
Yeah, with that in mind, Warwickshire doing their best to try and get extra points and whatnot. Okay, they fell in a heap a little bit, but they had enough.
Yeah.
You know, the lead was perfectly sizable.
Yeah. I suppose the only counter argument could have been if they could have really batted Kent right out of the game, but I think they were confident they had enough that if they bowl well, they will win the game anyway. And then Dalby is into Leaning, who is leaning into a forward defensive shot, which sends the ball up to mid-off. 161 for 3. The Sylvan Edgbaston skyline looking glorious on this Saturday morning, as Warwickshire supporters hope to see their side close out a championship win for the first time in 2024. Here comes Ollie Hannon-Dalby again, and again this beats Leaning's attempted push to leg. This time it is a leg by. Total moves to 162 for 3. Of course, if the other logic of Warwickshire just batting normally for a bit longer yesterday, just making the lead huge, is that if Kent can get in front, then it does start taking time out of the game again, doesn't it? And as soon as they avoid an innings defeat, if they've got a few wickets in hand, then the equation does change slightly. Whereas if they were just facing a huge total to avoid an innings defeat, that would be a different proposition, as Everson is forward in defence to Hannon-Dalby. It's been a really bruising season for Kent. Ben, how are they going to bounce back from this, do you think? It's a tough season, isn't it? Psychologically, physically, so many injuries.
Yeah, for sure. I think, As I kind of alluded to earlier on in the match, I think from a supporters' point of view, they would quite like to see some younger players kind of blooded next season.
Hannon-Dalby is in. This one rises at Everton, but he plays it well down to point.
So you're looking at guys like Jaden Denley, who have shown some promise in one-day cup cricket. He's played quite a lot in that format, but he played against Essex in the draw at Chelmsford and showed really good temperament actually in what was a quite a high-pressure situation. If he had got out, Kent may well have gone on to lose that match. So yeah, I think Division 2 feels like the ideal place for guys like him. There's another young batter called Ekansh Singh who's played a bit in the one-day cup to potentially get some cricket and start their development.
Hannon-Dalby concludes his 14th over with a good ball which takes the outside edge, and it'll go for 4 down to third man. Everson was in some control of that because it did angle the ball down, but a bit of a moral victory for Hannon-Dalby, but 4 valuable runs for Kent, which takes them to within 100 of avoiding an innings defeat. A small milestone, but everyone helps for Kent at the moment. 166 for 3, needing 264 to avoid innings defeat. So if these two could take them to 264 with 7 wickets in hand, then you start thinking about setting Warwickshire a target or making it how many they need to chase down. It's a big ask, isn't it, Ben? But Kent have got to bat a long time, but the wicket is pretty good for batting.
Yeah, it definitely is a big ask. 98 they trail by now as Rushworth bowls a full delivery to Leaning, and he clips this one away into the onside. And yeah, you feel like these two have got to do the majority of the cutting of the deficit if Kent are going to stand a chance of setting up some kind of score. And like you say, it realistically is going to require, some big partnerships and at least a couple of sizable individual scores. But at the same time, some of the grass that was left on this wicket is obviously worn down a bit, and then the roller would have been on it in between innings, probably the light roller. Obviously the Kookaburra balls at times can go a little bit soft, and it's 47 overs old, this ball now, so maybe we might see a bit of spin later. Possibly they might even be able to get it reversing a little bit later on. I'm not sure that it's quite warm enough for that. Possibly it's kind of low 20s. So Rushworth is in. You can hear a bit of the wind whipping up on our effects mic as well as Joey Everson just runs this down past the gully fielder. It's going out towards third man. I don't think it's going to go all the way. They will come back for 3 runs. And so, yeah, with that in mind, I guess for these two and for any of the batters to come, and guys like Grant Stewart and Charlie Stobo are much better than they showed in the first innings. Tuandame, if he's not in too much pain and it doesn't affect his kind of footwork at the crease, he's a dazzling player to watch.
Well, Chris Rushworth has just brought his second slip out, just 1 slip, so Warwickshire seem set for a battle of attrition.
This one's pushed away by Leaning out towards backward point. Joey Everson was slow to set off there, but then does come through for the single. Yeah, there was a bit of a stop and went again for Joey Everson. Hesitation. Yeah, like you say, the field is definitely set for patience. And not necessarily Warwickshire thinking they're going to skittle these wickets out in rapid time.
It's really a test of the batter's concentration, isn't it? Because the ball isn't doing a great deal, so you can bat time if you don't make a mistake.
Rushworth past umpire Wharf, driven into the covers by Everson, but straight-ish at the cover fielder. Yeah, they've got this, as you can see on the live stream if you're watching via the Warwickshire website, Sam Hain in a very straight, silly mid-off. And then Jacob Bethel is probably just out of screenshot in at short mid-wicket. So yeah, they've got a couple of close catches in front of the batter. And then that wide slip that you can see as well. The wind He's just whipping up a little bit. You can see over on the, well, we can see certainly as it's defended away over on the far side, the top kind of sheet that is being used as the sight screen is really kind of, well, where there's a gap between the two stands. It's really blowing around in the breeze. 171 for 3.
The Edgbaston pitches haven't broken up this season, so as suggested by Warwickshire not selecting Danny Briggs, they're not expecting it to turn. So it really could be a case of wearing down these Kent batters.
Rushworth bowls, turned away by Everson. Yeah, I mean, we saw some turn, didn't we, from Matt Parkinson as it's the end of the over. Kent still trailing by 93 runs. We did see some turn for Matt Parkinson.
Yes.
I guess it was kind of slow turn, but that's sort of his thing. He doesn't bowl it flat and quick like a lot of spinners these days. But I think obviously the biggest example, which illustrates your point, is the fact that every game has been draws, hasn't it, this season? So that shows how well the Edgbaston pitches have held up. Yeah,
the pitches have been very good for batting, and throw in a bit of weather damage, and really they haven't got very close to a result at Edgbaston so far this season. But as you say, Gary Barwell, the groundsman, did leave a bit more grass on this one, and Warwickshire's team has exploited it, to be fair to them.
They did.
They bowled really
Absolutely.
well. 171 for 3, Jack leaning on 19 from 42 balls. He's got 2 short mid-wickets now as Hannon-Dalby bowls very straight on off stump and leaning forward defence. Alex Davis, the captain, has seen enough in that ball to decide to attack further. He's I thought he was coming into silly point. He was just running in actually to move one of the short mid wickets about 3 metres to the right. So if the next ball goes straight to that fielder, Alex Davis will be very pleased. 2 short mid wickets and 1 slip at about 3rd slippers. Leaning gets another good straight delivery, which he pushes out into the covers. 171 for 3. A decent crowd in. It doesn't look many, but then it really does at Edgbaston when it's such a huge stadium with so many seats. But there are, it's a good gathering, as there has been for all this match actually. I think the spectators have really relished the lovely weather we've had this week, which has been a real change, because it hasn't always been this way this season, of course. Hannon-Dalby in again, and Leaning finds one of those short mid wickets. But 3 of Warwickshire's home championship matches were in April, so that wasn't great cricket watching weather. So I think the Bears fans have really relished this, and I've seen quite a few Kent badges around as well, if you're from Kent.
Yeah, normally there's a section of members who do travel to most of the games. I've seen a couple of them around the ground.
Well, they'll be hoping for some real good resistance from their side. And Leaning and Everson have started well, leaning forward again in defence to Hannon-Dalby, who has 3 for 32 in his 15th over. And one thing about Ollie Hannon-Dalby is, I was mentioning Kent's batters have got to concentrate. Hannon-Dalby will make them do that. He builds pressure, he keeps on coming in and bowling accurately and just tempting the batter to make a mistake. If they want to score runs off Ollie Hannon-Dalby, then quite often they've got to take a risk, because he bowls very, very few loose deliveries.
Yeah, and his height as well, I think, is something that he utilises really well. The fact that he, might put the ball on the same spot as someone else, the fact that he's coming in from, 6, 7, etc., makes it that bit more awkward.
Here he comes again, and that's an LBW decision in his favour, and there wasn't much doubt about that. Leaning goes for 19. That's the breakthrough that Warwickshire wanted, and we're just saying that Hannon-Dalby maintains the pressure. That was a good delivery. I think it nipped back just a little bit. Not much doubt about that one at all. Hannon-Dalby has all 4. Could we be seeing an all 10 here? That would be be something for the Bears fans to enjoy. But that's a big blow struck Kent 171 for 4, leaning LBW to Oliver Hannon-Dalby for 19.
Yeah, he's the one, isn't he? He's the wicket threat. And he's the one doing the business and trying to get his team over the line. As we're seeing the replays on the live stream, Hannon-Dalby, yeah, like you say, looks like it's nipped back and hit him kind of on the knee roll. Fairly straightish on the stumps. Obviously the angle that he's coming in from, maybe it's hitting the top of middle and leg. Leaning did hold for a moment and looked down the pitch in frustration and then walked off. So yeah, from Kent's point of view, that's a massive blow. Tawanda Mayeye is walking out to come in and join Joey Everson, but Jack Leaning was the one, or one of the ones, that you were thinking had the capability of really digging in and getting a score. So his departure, with still 93 runs behind, is the perfect start to the day for Warwickshire.
Hannon-Dalby, who passed 500 wickets for Warwickshire in all formats earlier in this match, now has 4 in this innings. And could he emulate Jack Bannister, Harry Howell and the great Eric Hollis as the 3 men to take an all-10 in first-class cricket for Warwickshire? It's a bit early days, but let's go for it until somebody else spoils the equation. Hannon-Dalby 4 for 32 with a bit of an assist from the umpire last night, but he'll take it. And here he comes for the first time to Mayeye, who pulls his first ball very confidently down to long leg for a single. He moves to 1. Everson is 22, and Warwickshire have had the first success in today's battle of attrition. Kent 172 for 4, still 92 short of avoiding an innings defeat.
So Mayeye tested out by a short ball first up. That'll as Hannon-Dalby gets a good hand by those Warwickshire supporters over by the scoreboard. Yeah, that will have tested how he's feeling at the crease. Don't know who it is. Who's the Warwickshire player that's currently stood right next to Mayeye? Sam Hain being inquisitive. In fact, I think he's asking his captain where he wants him to go stand. So
I'll be surprised if Haney's giving the batter any.
Yeah, I think he was trying to communicate with Alex Davis, and he suspected he might be asked to go to slip, and he has been. So Rushworth bowls to Tawanda Mayeye. Manages to get in behind this one with some good foot movement, in fairness. So you would imagine that they've kind of drugged him up a bit, given him some painkillers.
Tell us about that innings against Worcester. That sounds pretty spectacular.
Oh. He looked in fabulous form last week. So in the first innings against Worcestershire, well, as they have this week, Kent struggled. Here comes Rushworth. Through it goes. A little bit of a way swing. Through to the wicketkeeper. Let me see if I can just get the scorecard up on my phone just to give you correct information. So yeah, first innings Kent were 171 all out, so not too dissimilar to this scenario on a pitch where, again, we thought it was going to be bowler friendly. Mayeye, though, against the new ball, hit 56 off 64 balls with 11 fours, and kind of anything that was in his slot, he was just going after it, and he's pushing this one away out towards backward point, but straight to the fielder. So he was, you know, not shy of playing his shots. Worcestershire in reply put 447 on the board, so Kent again were in a similar situation to this. Feels like most games this season have been pretty similar to this, to be honest. Kent have always been well behind on first innings, and then yeah, second time around he's hit 23 fours, 3 sixes, was out there for 279 balls and made 211. It was only his second first-class 100 for Kent, and then obviously his first double ton in a Kent shirt as Rushworth bowls to him, and he defends away into the offside. And it's kind of the innings that, you know, I'd say he's capable of, but it's one of those where you almost, sometimes you see talented players and you kind of go, well, are they capable of translating their ability and their talent into a longer innings? And his shot selection was brilliant, and maybe just worked on a couple of technical things, and he's had a tough season, so maybe his mind is right and a bit more fresh at the moment. He's defending this one away into the covers, doesn't mind quick bowling. He's quite good against quick bowling actually, and he's got such fast hands. So yeah, he's a thoroughly entertaining cricketer to watch. So any Kent fans that went to New Road last week, well, they would have been disappointed with the result. I'm sure they will have been mightily impressed by what they saw from Tawanda Mayeye, who was basically the one Kent batter in the game that did his job, or exceeded his job perhaps. So Rushworth continuing to him. He's on 1 Mayeye. Everson up the other end has 22. 172 for 4 as he lets it go outside the off stump. 92 runs Kent trail by after the loss of Jack Leaning LBW to Hannon-Dalby.
Yes, Mayeye, from what you're saying, does like to play some strokes, and I guess that's one of the balances that Kent have got to strike, haven't they? Because they can't be reckless. They, above all, they need to protect their wickets, but also they don't want the score just to remain static, because that just means that you go nowhere. So it'll be interesting to see Mayeye's approach. I'll just describe one more Hannon-Dalby over and then bring in Phil, if that's okay.
Yeah, no problem at all. Oh no, I won't have an update in a minute. Sussex will be doing that one at least.
Hannon-Dalby starts his 16th over in pursuit of his 5th wicket, and Everson guides this one away to Ed Barnard at backward point.
Yeah, on our shared shows we have myself and Adrian Harms, or Matt Cole if he's doing my job, share the updates around. So yeah, Sussex going very well in Division 2 in their game against Derbyshire. Derbyshire 6 down for 189 after Sussex put 600 plus on the board. Yorkshire put 600 plus on the board as well against Middlesex.
Hannon-Dalby is in again and wraps Everson on the pad, but there's a good stride in there by the batter, and that's smothered any LBW appeal.
So yeah, those two teams, Sussex and Yorkshire, possibly Middlesex, the ones trying to get promoted from Division 2. Somerset 492 all out, Durham 294 for 7 at Taunton. Surrey 525 all out. I've got Notts 150 for 4 at Trent Bridge. Lancashire following on against Hampshire.
Hannon-Dalby again, bang on middle stump again. Forward goes Everson.
So I guess from a Warwickshire point of view, that's good news that Lancashire are struggling. 5 without loss, 184 still behind. And then Worcestershire are 24 for 2 in their second innings after Essex put 404 on the board. So Worcestershire trailing by 114. And it was Michael Pepper, the wicketkeeper, actually, who made 100 in that one. Shane Snater, 50 from number 8 or 9.
Hannon-Dalby is just clipped away this side, this time a single for Everson, who threads it through the short mid wickets, and he moves to 23.
Looks like Ben Duckett has fallen for 24. England 46 for 2 in the Test match at Lord's, 270 runs ahead, and Ollie Pope and Joe Root together at the crease after bowling Sri Lanka out for 196 yesterday.
Just looking at the relegation equation, I think if Warwickshire do win this game, Notts and Lancashire both look like they're going to lose heavily, don't they? So Warwickshire will take a huge stride towards safety if they can close this one out. Hannon-Dalby in again. This is another immaculate over from the big Yorkshireman. This one brings Mayeye forward, and one of the short mid wickets field.
Yeah, you'd have to say at the moment results elsewhere, or potential results elsewhere, look like they're going Warwickshire's way. Worcestershire and Lancashire both well behind. Notts, the fact that they're only 4 down, they're still quite a long way behind, but possibly they might be able to get a draw. They play that very well for the next 2 days.
Hannon-Dalby in to conclude a wonderful over there. Really was every ball very accurate. Mayay defence, though patiently played by the 2 Kent batters in that over. 173 for 4. A word or two more from Ben, and then Phil Britt will join us.
Thank you very much, Brian. Yeah, it looks to me like Twanda Mayay is potentially just playing within himself a little bit, having kind of blocked back the first 9 deliveries. I guess the first test of how that knee is feeling will be when we see him play his first shot in anger, possibly. Joey Everson on 23, having faced 50 balls. The man on strike at the moment, and the field getting increasingly funky with Sam Hain right in front of the batter's eye line as Everson lets this go outside the off stump. And again, if you're watching on the live stream, you might just be able to see Hain gesturing to a mate of his to his left, who's coming in at quite a close sort of catching cover, if you will. So they've got a couple of men there for a loose drive.
Is that the technical term, a mate of his?
Well, it's now Ed Barnard that they've swapped around. It was originally Michael Booth who was in that position. Oh, Joey Everson's played a wild drive at this next one, which is exactly what Warwickshire presumably want by sticking those close fielders in. As much as it's for a possible catch in those 2 positions, it's also actually to get the batter driving and playing shots that they don't need to be, and possibly getting a nick off to the keeper. They've also got a Gully who's got a helmet on.
He's in very close, isn't he? He's a very close in Gully for a quicker bowler.
Is that Yates in that position? As Rushworth is driven down the ground up towards mid-on. Ray does the fielding.
Nice shot for nothing there from.
That was a very nice shot for nothing.
Everson. Yeah, I think that'll be Yates in there. He'd be in that close catching position.
And then Bethel's at short mid-wicket, just going out of screenshot on the live stream. Also on the BBC Sport app and website, and on your smart speaker if it works for the time that you've got, to ask BBC Sounds to play Warwickshire against Kent Day 3. Rushworth bowls, defended away by Everson. 2 Robbie Yates in that helmeted catching gully position.
It's an unusual position, isn't it? No slip, but you've got this man, as Ben says, right in at short gully.
Sort of suggests they don't think regulation nicks are necessarily going to carry.
There were a few in the first innings which went into the slips. I don't think anything though went to slip itself. They were second and third slip, most of the ones. So they've taken those out for this.
Here comes Rushworth, defended by Everson. Yeah, just the one went to first slip. Jack Leaning was caught off first by Hain. But that was the only one, I think. Mostly it was either to the wicketkeeper. And of course Burgess got 5 catches, did he, in the first innings?
Yeah, he got 5 in the first. So
and then there was a couple a bit wider, and obviously there was the one at 4th where Ben Compton got dropped. Imagine if Compton had gone cheaply, Kent really wouldn't have made many at all in their first innings. And this game might well be almost over, as this one's driven away by Everson. Again, that was not completely along the ground, but it was in between the 2 catching covers, if you will. So interesting field, interesting moment in the game with Rushworth. 14 overs, 3 maidens, none for 44. Pretty tidy, pretty much on the spot. Hannon-Dalby also on the spot, but that bit more potent. 16 overs, 3 maidens, 4 for 34. Albeit a couple of those were slightly gifted to him, as we were discussing yesterday. Phil, you were, to be honest, a lot more vehement than me about the LBW for Daniel Bell-Drummond, and you were spot on. So
yeah, it never looked a good appeal, and when you watch it on the replay, it definitely wasn't. He was very unlucky. Hannon-Dalby starts a new over in Nweye, who plays this one up to the deepish mid-off, who's the Warwickshire captain, Alex Davis. Likes to spend his time by the side of his bowlers so he can have a good chat with them. Obviously, normally a wicket keeper, but he's not going to keep, I don't think, with Michael Burgess in the side.
Yeah, he hasn't necessarily kept for a while, has he?
Certainly not in Championship cricket, and he has kept in the white ball cricket.
Sure.
Yeah. When he's played, obviously, mostly the blast. Hannon-Dalby in bowls, and this one is played away into the offside. There's no run. When he came, obviously, I think he thought, that would be the wicket-keeper opening batsman position, but he's with Burgess playing so well, then it's very difficult to take Michael Burgess out of that role, and they're very fortunate. And of course, at the club, we've also got Chris Benjamin, who's a wicket-keeper, and Kai Smith. Kai, who's the young lad who got the magnificent 100 against against Worcestershire in the quarter-finals of the One Day Cup. This next one again, away he plays away into the offside.
Yeah, I did see that actually, that he got runs in the
Warwickshire,
the
to be honest, were almost dead and buried, and it was a magnificent stand. Him and Rhodes got the Warwickshire out of trouble.
Because where is he from originally? Was he from another county?
Who? Smith?
Smith, yeah.
No, he's a lad who's come from, I'm going to say the Arab Emirates or somewhere of that type. Just this one, he's going to be 4 runs. Glanced away through the gully, went back and just opened the face and got an outside edge and ran away quickly down to the boundary. So Nweye gets his first boundary. Kent moved to 177 for 4. I'll just look him up and get his exact. I should know straight off, but I don't. So I make no apologies. I just don't know quite where he came from.
Yeah, only because I saw on a Kent forum somewhere that he was offered to Kent or was on trial at Kent at one point in time, and that point they had loads of keepers, so they didn't need him.
And Dalby in bowls, and this one is wrapping him on the pad and gone. Nweye is gone. Hannon-Dalby gets his 5 and Kent have lost their 5th wicket. And I don't think this time we're going to have too much of an argument with Peter Hartley's decision. It was going across his stumps, and everybody went up for that one. And in fact, almost the batsman went up for it. It was so plumb. So 5 wickets for Oliver Hannon-Dalby. Well done to him, and Warwickshire get their 2nd wicket of the morning. So 5 for 38 so far. What a fantastic piece of bowling by the Warwickshire seamer.
Just looking back at the replay, he did actually appeal for it. I almost thought he was kind of celebrating as soon as it hit the pad, to be honest. But yeah, little argument about that one. That's bang on the money. And I think fair play to Nweye for kind of going out there and gutsing it out, because he obviously spent a lot of time off the field yesterday with a knee issue. And
what has he done?
I don't think they know yet. I think he had a scan and they were waiting for the results.
Okay, right.
Or it was what I was told last night. So yeah, I think it was probably a case of he was heavily painkillered up and was doing his best out there. But the fact that we kind of didn't really see him play a shot in anger probably suggests he was kind of playing within himself and going against his natural instincts, and clearly that's going to affect your footwork. So yeah, maybe just trapped on the crease a little bit by that delivery. And Hannon-Dalby gets his 5-wicket haul, and well, needless to say, he's been the man.
Yeah, 8 wickets so far in the game match for him. The 3 in the first innings, 5 in the second, and he keeps going. And David said to him, "Do you want to have a break?" "No, thank you."
Yeah.
He'll keep going. It's quite fresh out there. I've just sat outside for about 20 minutes on the balcony. You need to be a bit wrapped up watching the cricket
Yeah,
this morning.
well, out of the sun, I'd imagine. Certainly, there's a fair few spectators on the far side of the ground who are
But it'll keep Hannon-Dalby
feeling
fresh.
a little bit better.
At the height he is as well, he gets the extra cold air. Here he comes in, the final ball of his 17th over. He's in to bowl to the new batsman, Charlie Stobo, who is caught first ball in by Rob Yates, who takes the ball, which just lobs up to him. Hannon-Dalby gets 2 in 2, and Kent 177 for 6. Charlie Stobo didn't really trouble the scorers too much there.
He hasn't in the game. He's walked off with a pair. Was out second ball in the first innings and out first ball in this one. And he's a far better batter than that. And again, he's coming back into the Kent team off the back of a broken finger, and yeah, it looks like he's clearly inside edged that into the back thigh pad, and it's ballooned up to the slip cord, and whether that finger meant he's not quite comfortable out there with the bat, I don't know. But again, that was, you know, a pretty unconvincing shot, having played a poor one in the first innings. So yeah, unfortunate for Stobo. Kent are 6 down, so any hopes of, say, a leaning on Mayeye getting really stuck in and getting them up to parity appear to have gone, and we're currently looking at a situation where Kent are trying to avoid an innings defeat.
Yes, the last couple of overs from Hannon-Dalby have completely changed the complexion of the game. Kent were going along quite steadily. He's going to get a big round of applause from the crowd down at the barn stand and the old press box stand as he goes back down. There's a good crowd down there this morning, and quite rightly so. Terrific piece of bowling from Oliver Hannon-Dalby yet again. And you can't talk too highly of this guy because he plays game after game after game. And we talked about him during the first innings. He's one of those players who don't wish him bad luck or bring it on him, but he doesn't really have the injuries which so many of other fast bowlers around the country seem to suffer with.
So he's got 6, all 6.
Yeah.
So far in this Kent second innings, 177 for 6. Grant Stewart goes out to join Joey Everson.
The deficit is still 87, so there's real work to do for the remainder of the Kent batsmen.
We're about to see Ed Barnard replace Rushworth from the pavilion end, so it's kind of the battle of the all-rounders in this over, as Barnard bowls to Everson, who can probably utilise more as a batting all-rounder. Grant Stewart up the other end is a bowling all-rounder.
Yeah.
But certainly both more than capable with the bat. And then once you break through this partnership, then you're into the bowlers in Parkinson, Ogbourne and Garrett. And Parkinson's stubbornness aside, you would expect if Warwickshire get down into those, that this game may be wrapped up pretty quickly, as Barnard bowls and it's flicked away by Joey Everson into the onside for a single.
It's a daunting task ahead of these last 4 bats for Kent as they stare at this 87 deficit. Then they've got to put on. So they're really needing to be able to scramble together the best part, probably 300 runs at least, if Kent have got any chance.
Yeah, I think that chance has gone, to be honest. I think that chance was if Leaning and Everson could get stuck in, and Mayeye might be fit enough to get some runs on the board as well. As Barnard bowls to Grant Stewart, defends out towards mid-on. You know, realistically, I think Grant Stewart does have one first-class century, but you know, if Grant Stewart got you a 50, you'd be pretty pleased with that. You'd say that's a good day out for Grant Stewart. Joey Everson capable of more, although he's got 3 half-centuries without 100 this year. As Barnard bowls to Stewart, plays it defensively. So that, you know, even if those two had a really good day, Kent are probably still only 50 ahead or something. So,
well, Warwickshire will be hoping that the Kent last 4 wickets generate the same sort of return that their last 4 wickets did, which was just 10 runs for their last 4 wickets in their total of 420. They went from 410 for 6.
Defended away by Stewart out towards point.
To 420 all out, so it was a real collapse.
Yeah, kind of clutching at straws a little bit for positives from a Kent point of view from this game, the way things are going. A couple of 70s, Compton in the first innings, Daniel Bell-Drummond in the second. Might have gone on to get a few more.
I
Finch
thought
was batting well.
Alfie Ogborne bowled, although his figures don't look that great, I thought he bowled quite well.
Yeah.
And George Garrett in spells bowled well.
Defended away by Stewart. Yeah, Ogborne looked like at times he looked like the most likely wicket-taking threat, didn't he? But from a Kent point of view, he's not their player after this game, so I'm not sure if that counts as a positive.
No, that's the problem, is he goes back to Somerset and they'll just add him to their list of useful players.
Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, Garrett bowled well at the end to finish things off, but at times really struggled.
Yeah.
Parkinson, obviously, Kent know all about his quality, and he stayed patient and kept it controlled, and then when Warwickshire came at him trying to score quickly, he got 3 wickets and got batters out in the way that he can. So, yeah, but overall, feels like a tough one. I guess Joey Everson is the remaining hope that maybe he can find a little bit of form. He batted well in the first innings, didn't he?
Yes, he did.
Made 28.
Yeah.
Just it's flashed up on the screen in front of me that this, of course, is a hat-trick ball.
Yeah.
For Hannon-Dalby. So everyone's coming a bit close.
He's in, and this is not going to be a hat-trick because it's turned to mid-wicket, and a round of applause for the hat-trick ball, but not today.
Yeah, fielders were creeping in, mid-on and mid-off, had kind of come a bit tighter, and mid-wicket, and the two sort of catching mid-wickets were a bit closer. So unlike the field that Rushworth had to Everson, where there were the two catching covers, they've actually got the two on the leg side for Hannon-Dalby. So he's clearly trying to, as we've seen already this morning, bowl quite straight. He's bowling for LBWs, really.
He comes charging in and bowls, and Everson is... That one rising on him, he just gets across it and plays it down into the ground when it runs out to one of those catching mid-wickets. And Alex Davis is going to enforce another move. He's going to bring in a short leg.
It's quite a peculiar field for a team who are 85 runs ahead and have got 4 more wickets to win the game by an innings. There's there was a gully. There's now no catchers next to the keeper. There's a deep point, third man, long leg and a fine leg.
There's Hannon-Dalby in and bowls, and that he held that one back a little bit, but didn't deceive Everson. He just played it with nice soft hands down in front of him.
Yeah, and then the catching fielders are now at short leg, almost 2 catching mid-wickets and a mid-on and mid-off, so there's a massive gap at cover, sort of inviting Everson to try and force the ball away offside. But Hannon-Dalby's clearly going to try and bowl kind of middle and leg stump. 178 for 6.
He's in and bowls, and Everson turns this one up to mid-on, and there's no run. It also requires Hannon-Dalby to be absolutely on the mark, because if he strays any way outside or onto off stump or outside off stump, he's allowing Everson to hit through into empty space, basically. Right, that's the couple of balls left in the over. The 2 men on the cover and deep backward point boundary come back into the inner circle, as you'd call it, so they're back into more orthodox backward point and cover, and the deep backward square leg comes up to orthodox backward square leg. Hannon-Dalby comes in, and that one is glanced away down to the vacant third man boundary for 4 from Everson's, down through, perfectly safe, nobody there, no slip, no gully, nobody at all in that area. He gets 4 very comfortable and easy runs.
Yeah, a bit weird that they've brought the fielders in. I mean, it's almost like they're trying to stop Everson from getting a single, but we're not into kind of that sort of territory yet where Everson is trying to farm the strike.
No.
So I don't really quite get it, to be honest.
Sometimes they go to this sort of strange pattern very early on. You see this quite regularly happening around. Hannon-Dalby comes in and bowls, and this one is beating Everson through to Burgess after the final ball of the over. Maybe the last ball of this spell. We'll see. Alex Davis goes over to him and taps him on the hand. So just wonder whether that's it for now. If it is, terrific spell this morning. 3 wickets in that spell, and it's left Kent on 182 for 6. So it will be Ed Barnard to continue to bowl to Grant Stewart. He'll be bowling from the pavilion end. Nice morning here in Birmingham. It's blue skies again. We've been blessed with some pretty decent weather in this game.
Yeah, absolutely. It's been super. Barnard bowls then to Grant Stewart. Worth remembering as well, actually, Grant Stewart fell heavily yesterday on his shoulder, didn't he? And
yes, he did. Yeah.
That was a slightly tentative stroke, I thought. Obviously, it's his left shoulder, so that's his top hand. As with me, yeah, it's possible that Grant Stewart's out there kind of on...
He came back on fairly quickly, though, didn't he? He wasn't off too long.
No, but even when he came back on, he didn't bowl. And a couple of times, as he defends this one away, he actually threw it in underarm rather than properly throwing it. The fact that he's coming behind Stobo also perhaps suggests that he's in a bit of pain out there. So we've already been talking about how injuries have crippled Kent this season. It feels like they've got a few more walking wounded out there, in fairness.
Yeah, the wind blowing on the effects mic. It's quite breezy this morning here at Edgbaston.
Barnard then bowls to Stewart. He's tickling this one away behind square on the onside for a single to get himself off the mark. Kent trailing by 81 runs and 183 for 6 in their second innings, having been 3 down overnight. Leaning LBW, LBW to Hannon-Dalby, and then Stobo quite clear inside edge onto the back pad that looped up for slip. As Barnard bowls to Everson, and he squeezes that down towards third man for a single.
When you were doing your post-match interviews last night, did any discussion or anything said about how the ball was playing this time? It's going soft or anything, or did that not come up into any discussion?
It didn't come up yesterday. There were other pressing matters.
They were all more concerned about being hit on the shoulder and given out, and etc. etc.
Barnard bowls. Stewart lets it go outside the off stump, and
Brian might, because he would have been talking to the bowling side, I suppose.
True.
Yeah.
And when I asked Ben Compton about it on day one, he said, to be honest, they just put the ball, Warwickshire just put the ball in the right areas, and it doesn't matter whether it's a Kookaburra or otherwise. If you do that, you can get edges and take wickets.
To be fair, it never got the chance to get old, did it? It was only
first innings.
One ball short of 40 overs.
Yeah, it's 55 overs old in this second innings, but this one defended away by Stewart, and despite the funky fields that Warwickshire have got on display, they have still managed to take wickets with this ball today.
Yep. Now, is OHD going to have another over? Alex Davis has got the ball in his hand. He's walking down with purpose towards him, so he's going to have another over out of the Warwickshire opening bowler.
I did see Michael Ray warming up a moment ago, so he clearly was keen to get into the attack, but Hannon-Dalby thinking, oh, if I can just have one little crack at Stewart, I might be able to get him out.
I think he's going to just bring somebody into that offside, or he was certainly looking at it. No, he's going to leave it the same, open on the offside. There's 2 men out on the boundaries out there. Hannon-Dalby comes charging in and he bowls, and Everson is beaten by that one. That was a good delivery from Hannon-Dalby.
That's an absolute cracker, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's not actually done anything off the wicket or in the air, but from Hannon-Dalby's height to land it on that spot, it draws the batter forward. It puts them in a situation of doubt where they don't quite know whether they should be going back or going forward or playing at it or leaving it. That's what he does so well.
Hop, and off he goes again, sets off this very straight run in, bowls, and this is clipped away nicely, but straight to one of the two short mid wickets.
So Brian's just handed me a note saying that Hannon-Dalby took 3 for 6 in 14 balls.
Yeah, terrific bowling. With a Kookaburra ball which was about 50 overs old. So
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
and I think that was one of the things that Rob Key said after the first couple of rounds of Kookaburra ball, which obviously all ended in those draws, aside from Essex who got the win, and he said, you know, the best bowlers found a way to take wickets with it.
And I'll be in. This is clipped up to mid-on rather, and they scamper through for a single. It's
I guess that
Michael Ray there a bit deep.
in the early part of the season, that was Sam Cook, wasn't it, who managed to really get the Kookaburra ball to do something and to take wickets. And yeah, we're seeing Hannon-Dalby here.
I think these conditions, as we said, you know, earlier on in yesterday or the day before, I think the warmer weather also has made it better to bowl with. It was so cold in that April trial period. But
yeah, and even I think you're right, and even Kent with their second new ball and the ball that they were using yesterday, it felt like they kept it in pretty decent nick. Even, you know, when you were sort of stepping out on the balcony, you could quite clearly see that they'd had a shiny side going, and it didn't look too deteriorated.
And Bobby bowls, and Stewart has nothing to do with that. He lifts the bat out of the way. Can't say that looked altogether comfortable. Whether that shoulder is hurting him.
Yeah, I think it must be.
Because when he sort of took the bat to show, you know, sort of remove it, it was it looked a sort of awkward.
Yeah,
movement.
I don't. In the same way that, to be honest, Miyeye looked like he was moving okay, but then was trapped on the crease, whereas Stewart, for me, doesn't look like he's enjoying trying to use that top hand with his left shoulder injury out there.
Hannon-Dalby into him, and this is clipped to one of the two short mid wickets. And again, there's no run. So we've got Will Rhodes this time doing the fielding. Alex Davis making another change. He's moving Michael Booth from short backward square leg. He's brought him in now to orthodox square, just in front of orthodox square, but about 10 yards behind. So he's dropped him back, and he's brought himself into leg slip. So inviting. So we've now just got a gully sort of position and a covered backward point, as this one from Hannon-Dalby is played into one of the three short mid wickets for another dot ball. So I just wonder sometimes whether you can get a bit too clever with trying to create a field, you know.
Yeah, I'd agree.
That it's field had gone off there.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Should Garden come on? Substitute fielder, I think we've seen him in this match. So he's come on.
Is it Sam Hain who's gone off on the basis that he's settled in at short or silly mid-off, possibly?
Yeah.
Here comes Barnard to Everson, drives up towards mid-on. Update on the way for BBC Local Radio. Lancashire 6 for 1 in their second innings against Hampshire, trailing by 183. As Everson defends here, Worcestershire 54 for 2, 84 behind at Chelmsford. Durham almost 170 runs behind, almost bowled out in their first innings against Somerset. And it looks as if this game may be not far away from a conclusion. Kent still trailing by 79 runs, and they're 6 down now in their second innings. Joey Everson is going along well, and he's driving there off the back foot for a couple of runs. Grant Stewart, who's got a bit of a shoulder injury, is soldiering on as his batting partner. But wickets today for Oliver Hannon-Dalby, who has picked up all 6 of the second innings wickets, and he removed Jack Leaning LBW for 19, Tawandami Yeye for 5, and then Charlie Stobo first ball edging into his back pad, and it ballooned up for the slip fielder to take the catch, and he was out first ball for 0, pair in the game for him. So as I say, Kent still 79 runs behind. Warwickshire making 420 all out in their first innings, and looking possibly good for an innings victory, but certainly for a victory. So it will be yet another defeat for Kent, who are looking doomed at the bottom of the Division 1 table. Elsewhere, Surrey are 525 all out, have got Notts 186 for 4 at Trent Bridge, but they may need to try and get wickets in a bit of a hurry. Possibly might be a draw, that one, if they can't. And then Sussex in Division 2, top of Division 2 at Hove, and very much on top against Derbyshire, who were 215 for 7 in reply to Sussex 607 for 8 declared. So the guys at Hove looking good, Surrey also, but Kent very much struggling and on course for another defeat here at Edgbaston. Commentary of all of those matches is available via your smart speaker as Everson smashes this back down the ground for 4 runs, or you can ask your smart speaker, as I say ask BBC Sounds to play Kent against, or Warwickshire against Kent, day 3, and they're also available on the BBC Sport app and website. Got distracted from my update there as Joey Everson launched into that delivery from Barnard and smacked it back over the bowler's head for 4 to move to 36.
Should we bring Brian back in?
I think Brian's got an update in 10 minutes.
10 minutes, okay.
So he's going to come back in
if
after
he comes in,
that.
I'll go at that stage, because I've got to go over to the museum as well. Okay.
No worries at all.
Oh, sorry, I was
No
just
worries at
pointing.
all.
So that would be fine. That was a nice shot, actually, from Everson. It crashed it straight down, didn't he? It got hold of it.
I wonder if there's a part of Joey Everson that slightly thinks, well, this game is pretty much gone.
Yeah.
Do I just try and show a bit of resistance here and fight back a little bit, counter punch a little bit, defends this one away from Barnard?
I think we are going to have a bowling change at the Birmingham end. I think Michael Ray is going to come into the attack to replace Oliver Hannon-Dalby. Terrific figures from him. He's 6 for 43 from 19 overs, 3 maidens, 6 for 43. He's the 3 wickets to fall this morning. He's out of the attack, and Michael Ray, who is still looking for his first wicket in the match, comes back into the attack and puts his bowls with a headband on, so easy to distinguish him. He's just bowling a couple of balls to Hannon-Dalby before he comes in, and will be bowling to Grant Stewart. And here comes Ray in bright sunshine, bowls, and this first ball he's glanced is on, rising on his hip and turned away down to the fine leg. But it's off his pad in the end. He didn't get bat onto it, but it goes down to the fine leg boundary for 4. So and he looked up to the sky as if to say, well, that wasn't Michael Ray, as after he delivered it, to say, well, that wasn't a great delivery at all. 29-year-old from Dunedin, and which is Otago in New Zealand. He's played for this one. He's rapping him on the pad, drops down in front of him.
Yeah, South Island, isn't it, Dunedin?
Yeah,
I think they get similar weather to Scotland. It's not the warmest part of the world.
Yeah, it must be, because he's played for Otago, so yeah. So he played for them 2014-15 to 2022-23. Then he went to Canterbury and played for Canterbury during the winter, our winter.
Yes, that's Christchurch way, isn't it?
Yeah. As he comes in again and bowls. And this is quite late, but played out square on the offside. In first class cricket, he got 57 matches and and he has taken 167 wickets. So, and strangely, only 5 wickets in an innings twice. Which, when you've taken 167 wickets, that's, you'd think they'd have taken that a few more times.
Yeah, that is true.
Anyway, he's not going to get 5 in this innings either. So,
that's for sure.
as Ray comes in again and bowls a short one, which is harmless, way too short, and over the batsman's head and through to the keeper. A wasted delivery, really. Didn't really trouble anybody except Michael Burgess, who had to go and tidy it all up. 195 for 6. So we've got a slip to Sam Hain. It's a second slip, really. That's Ray Ian and bowls, and this is going to be brilliantly stopped down at third man by Ed Barnard.
Ed Barnard's fielding in this game has been brilliant, but that was absolutely outrageous.
It was a terrific piece of fielding, because it's a very short boundary.
I think he's turned round to the spectators behind him and gone, "Did you think I stopped that? I wasn't sure."
No, we've got a really good view down on that, and there was no doubt at all. He was he got round and stopped it with no. Quite often you see fielders with that TV screens on who stop it feet over the boundary, and it's never taken. But that's part of the game. Ray Ian and bowls, and this one is played by Stewart. Back up to mid-ons, end of Ray's first over, and he is still wicketless as he goes trudging off down towards fine leg. Yeah, you were so close to down there. The amount of the speed that one raced down towards the boundary, and full credit to how quickly Ed Barnard got round for it. It was like a harrier going round there.
Yeah, as I say, his fielding in this game has been outstanding. So Barnard to Joey Everson. Turned away into the onside for a single. Moves to 37. Joey Everson, the former Nottinghamshire player. One-time Leicestershire loanee as well. Kent 198 for 6.
Ollie Pope can't get any runs as captain of England, can he? He's gone in this match for his second innings for 17. So
Defended away by Stewart. This next delivery.
Lawrence and Pope are both struggling.
Yeah, I mean, Dan Lawrence is quite clearly not an opener, is he? Unfortunately.
There are enough openers in the country that they should be picking a proper regular opener, I think.
I would agree wholeheartedly, indeed. Yeah. But I kind of understand why they've done it. Lawrence has been carrying the drinks for so long. That one just balloons up off the pad of Grant Stewart. Yeah, he's been carrying the drinks for so long. He's always been the spare batter. In fact, there was an inside edge onto that pad that a batting spot opens up due to an injury, and he says, "Yeah, let me have a go." I mean, what they could have done was pick one less bowler and then put a proper opener in, and then he could have batted in Ben Stokes' spot.
Yeah, where he's used to batting.
Yeah,
exactly.
Which might have been a bit more helpful and given him a bit more of a chance to show what he can do. As that one is surely LBW.
Ed Barnard didn't even bother to look. He just went yay as he ran through, and just waiting for Alex Wolff to put his finger up there to say, "Yeah, Fred."
Grant Stewart departs and will trudge off, having bravely, I would suggest, dug in there with his shoulder injury. But that one, I think, has kept a little bit low with the left shoulder injury that he's got. He's not necessarily been leaning right forward over the ball, and that was probably the spot that Barnard needed to go for a little bit earlier, get it up nice and full. Maybe just a little bit of tail into the right hand there and slammed him on the pads, and yeah, the finger went up from the umpire. I think Stewart could have given it out himself.
I was going to say, I think he was, he walked off, trudged off, looking fairly...
Actually, that's nipped back quite a lot as well. seeing the slow-mo replay, it did nip back. So yeah, it's a beauty from Barnard. Stewart goes for 3, and with Kent trailing by 66, they're now 7 down. Joey Everson will be joined by Matt Parkinson, and the end is nigh in this game on day 3 here at Edgbaston, and Warwickshire not only looking good for a victory, but possibly even for an innings victory.
Yeah, still 66 ahead, I think, as Matt Parkinson comes out, and it's a big task ahead of them if they're going to make anything of this. Kent got effectively 5 sessions to get through. So I think, being realistic, it would be something absolutely monumental if they're to get out of this with anything at all. But it has happened. Stranger things have happened.
They're not getting out of this with anything. Parkinson would have to get 50, and Everson would have to get a massive score.
500.
Oh dear, it's gallows humour at this point for Kent fans, unfortunately. As I say, rock bottom of the championship and looking absolutely destined for Division 2. As Barnard bowls, defended away by Matt Parkinson, and it kind of, again, it goes back to what I was saying earlier on in the game, that, to be honest, as a supporter, would you not rather see your team be competitive? And unfortunately they haven't been in Division 1 this season, and so a bit of a reset in Division 2, being a bit more competitive. Guys like Joey Everson, you'd really want to see him kind of boss Division 2 and really kick on at that level, possibly. As Parkinson ducks underneath one, and it goes through to the wicketkeeper. So yeah, it could be an interesting winter ahead for Kent, ahead of what supporters will be hoping will be a much better season next year, because unfortunately it didn't really happen for them in the white ball competitions either. They were poor in the T20 Blast, despite having a couple of thumping wins at the start and the end of the competition, which showed what they were capable of, but it never really happened for them. And then a few good victories in the One Day Cup, but not enough to contest for the knockout stage.
Are there any players out of contract?
Yeah. Well, Compton, as we've been discussing.
Oh yes, we talked that one.
I think
Ray starts
a
a new
couple more
over.
possibly.
And this one is glanced behind square, and they scramble through for the single. They may as well take every run which is going. There's no point trying to protect anybody at this stage.
Yeah, Parkinson, I think you can trust to try and get him behind the ball. The two to come possibly might farm the strike a bit, but.
So you think there'll be some recruitment during the course of the?
Yeah, I think as much as anything, I think it'll be about.
This next one from Ray is through to. That's a good delivery from Ray. Goes through to Michael Burgess. Into this over. I'll make way for Brian. Are you okay staying on?
Yeah, no problem at all.
Yeah. So
yeah, I think.
Making
I would have
hard
thought.
this morning.
I would have thought there will be some recruitment, but at the same time, it might even be about leaving spots open for younger players within the Kent setup to potentially step into those roles.
There's Ray in again and bowls, and that's again past the outside edge of Parkinson's bat through to Michael Burgess. 199 for 7, 65 they trail by. We've got 3 wickets in hand, and we have 45 minutes at least. I say at least because if wickets go, then lunch will be delayed. So I think, in fact, if another wicket falls, it's 8, isn't it, that they do so many overs for 8 and more overs for 9 wickets down. So it could be a delayed lunch as Ray is in and bowls, and Parkinson turning this one, a ball which got up at him. He turns it off his hip behind square, and they come through for 1. Brings up the Kent 200, which receives. Oh, it does at last. Yes, it does receive some recognition in the ground. Kent 200 for 7. So that did get 1 or 2 people have managed to get their hands together to applaud it. 64 behind. Remember, Kent were 264 in arrears, so they need 64 more runs to make Warwickshire bat again. As Ray is in and bowls, and this one is run away out into the offside, and there's no run. So 2 slips in place. We've got Hayne and Yates in the slips, and Alex Davis now makes another fielding change. He brings himself into leg slip, brings Oliver Hannon-Dalby closer in at mid-on, and Ray comes in and bowls, and this one is thrashed away into the offside by Everson, but straight to the short mid-off. There's no run, end of the over, and after some words from Ben Watts, it'll be Brian Holford.
Thank you very much, Phil. 200 for 7 then, Kent. Second time around, which, although they've shown signs of getting stuck in, obviously with the 100 partnership between Daniel Bell-Drummond and Harry Finch yesterday, and then Joey Everson's efforts so far, 38 from 78 balls. Ultimately, it's not going to be enough to make a game of this. Like I say, a couple of walking wounded certainly hasn't helped the cause. A couple of rough decisions hasn't helped either, but little to deny the fact that Warwickshire have comfortably been the better of the 2 teams in this match here at Edgbaston. You're watching on the Warwickshire website and on the listening on the BBC Sport app and website, and maybe even on your smart speaker, as Brian Alford settles in alongside me. And Ed Barnard runs in past the umpire and bowls a very full delivery, which is blocked out by Parkinson. Yorker length, which he defends. And yeah, it doesn't feel like we're too far away, possibly, Brian, from a conclusion to this game now.
No, Kent needed some true heroics, and Joe Everson is digging in, but nobody else will be able to stick with him.
Yeah, the big one was the LBW of leaning pretty early on. As Barnard bowls, and he beats the outside edge of Parkinson, who was trying to kind of drive / cut through the offside.
I mean, this match will vanish into history, but you do look at those 2 decisions last night and you think that's where, you know, I mean, Kent have been outplayed, Warwickshire have been much the better side, but you just don't need that sort of input.
Absolutely. Barnard bowls, defended away by Parkinson. Yeah, I think, you know, let's say they'd have got in with Bell-Drummond and Finch still at the crease today, or one of them at least still at the crease, and maybe then we'd have seen Kent make more of a game of it, but the likelihood is that possibly we would have still had the same result the way you know the match has played out. Warwickshire would probably back themselves to chase, you know, up to 200 in the last innings. As Barnard always got the outside edge of Matt Parkinson's bat, and a low catch away to his right from Michael Burgess, and Kent 200 for 8. Parkinson departs for just 1, and still trailing by 64 runs. Warwickshire are sniffing and sensing an innings victory.
Yes, Ollie Hannon-Dalby will be livid with Ed Barnard at sticking his hooter into his potential all-10, but then what goes again round comes round, because when Chris Wokes got 9 for a few years ago against Durham, it was Ollie Hannon-Dalby that
serves him right then.
Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, good delivery from Ed Barnard, and I have to say, as soon as Ollie went off to graze with a well-earned 6 for 43 and Ed Barnard came on, you think, yeah, that's the end of the all-10, because Barnard very rarely doesn't do some damage, and that's 2 really good wickets for a very, very talented all-rounder who has been a big player for Warwickshire with bat and ball this season. And Kent's another dismal performance for them is about to culminate in another defeat before lunch on the 3rd day, I would imagine, Ben, because as you say, the interval can be delayed. And
yeah, this is I can't see this going beyond lunch.
And while no professional cricketer gives it away, then psychologically you must be thinking, well, this game is up, isn't it? So
Yeah, I think definitely there'll be an element of that. I wonder if maybe even Joey Everson will start thinking, why not try and have play a few shots here or something, or maybe he'll be thinking a not out might set him up for a little bit of form going forward in future matches. But this one defended away by Ogborn, who actually did look fairly sound for a bit in the first innings, making 7. So perhaps Ogborn will be able to stick in there with Everson for a little bit. Garrett likewise can hold a bat without really doing too much damage with it.
Be a wonderful story if George Garrett, former Bear, really popular, lovely guy, bats for a day and a half.
Got 100.
Yes. To see
100.
his side to safety.
Joey Everson got a double 100.
Lovely guy, good cricketer, George Garrett. Be padded up now and ready for action if Michael Ray can remove Joey Everson.
Yeah, field spreading a bit here then for Everson.
Ray still searching for a wicket, and as his stop ball almost way very, very short and over the ball, over the keeper's head into the over the batter's head into the keeper's gloves. Michael Ray does like the short ball.
Well, you need someone in your attack who's willing to take on that role sometimes, don't you?
Certainly a quantum leap from the metronomic accuracy of Ollie Hannon-Dalby at that end. Ray does has some really unplayable balls in him. Let's see if he can unfurl one now. Good straight delivery, which Everson defends. He's been very solid, hasn't he, Joey Everson? He batted well in the first innings, and he one of two men to get double figures.
Yeah, I actually thought his wicket in the first innings was a real turning point, because at that stage Compton and Everson had put on 57 and it kind of looked easy out there.
Yeah. 3 men on the leg side fence, just in case Michael Ray does drop one short. One of those fielders does the fielding, as this is clipped to leg by Everson, who has no qualms about taking a single and giving Ogborn 3 deliveries to face.
Yeah, obviously Ed Barnard only got 1 wicket in the first innings, but it was that wicket of Joey Everson, and yeah, for me, that really felt like a key turning point. And obviously Michael Booth ended up taking 3 from the other end after the door had been, put ajar. So
here comes Ray, good quick delivery on off stump, and Ogborn defends out into the covers. Yeah, Ed Barnard actually that's a really good call of yours, because he doesn't always take a lot of wickets, but my word, he takes some important ones. He very rarely doesn't contribute anything. He's a cricketer that makes things happen. Really good fielder.
Yeah, he's a fantastic, 3-pronged player, isn't he?
He is. Vice captain, who knows, maybe captain of the future here at Edgbaston. Here comes Ray again. Very quick delivery that, but outside off stump, and Ogborn judges it well and lets it go through to Burgess. So Warwickshire looked like closing out a victory before lunch on the 3rd day, and at this end of the season, a little bit of an extra day to rest up aching limbs. It's physically and mentally tiring, the county treadmill.
When is their last knockout game? Next week?
Friday.
Friday.
Yep. Gloucestershire here at Edgbaston. Here comes Ray again, defended by Ogborn up to mid-on.
Yeah, so like you say, not only an extra day rest, but probably an extra day's practice.
Yeah.
Because that's a big gear change in terms of the formats, isn't it? So. Yeah.
And that's a good call actually, because those players that do play in both sides, I played a bit of red ball cricket in the last couple of weeks, and we won't do them any harm to get a bit of rest and also white ball practice. But this is just a huge result for Warwickshire, with the way other results are going as well, and it takes the pressure off. Had they not won this game, they'd be going to Worcester in a couple of weeks' time under a significant amount of pressure.
Barnard comes in and bowls, defended away by Joey Everson. I mean, obviously, having seen a fair few of the teams so far this year, Lancashire don't quite look like a typical Lancashire team, in the sense that they normally have a bit of a kind of aura about them, and there's normally a real sort of rippling confidence about them, and they're a little bit brittle and a little bit susceptible, it feels like, this season. Obviously Kent beat them at Old Trafford. This one's defended away into the gap on the offside. They're not going to take a single. Obviously they've lost a couple of very experienced players, so there's a real kind of mix in terms of the stalwarts and some younger guys in their team. And then I guess Notts generally are a better white ball team than they are red ball over the years. Haven't obviously seen them this season because Kent don't play them until the penultimate game, as Everson's getting stuck in to the delivery, or getting right in behind the delivery and pushing it back up the pitch. And then who else is of course in the mix? Worcestershire, who have probably punched above their weight by being out of the bottom two at this stage of the season. It's, you know, still not guaranteed that they've got quite enough to necessarily stay up, you would say, as Barnard is in, and it's whipped away by Everson into the leg side past the short leg fielder, and they will come through for a single. So a couple of balls for Ogbourne to face. I mean, just, you know, looking at the Warwickshire lineup, that batting order of Yates, Davis, Rhodes, Hayne, Bethel, Barnard, Burgess, you know, that is so strong. And I guess they probably just need to maybe find an extra wicket taker or two along with Hannon-Dalby, really.
Yeah, they do.
As Barnard bowls a short ball, it's pulled away by Ogbourne into the onside for 4. Lifted away over the head of the mid-wicket fielder, and that was nicely played by the young loanee from Somerset.
Yes, just looking at that relegation equation, Worcestershire versus Lancashire, the last fixture of the season, could be quite lively.
Yeah, could go down to the wire, could be tight between a couple of the other teams. They try and stave off relegation. As Barnard is into Ogbourne, goes past the outside edge and through to the wicketkeeper. End of the over. I think we've got an update on the way for BBC Radio Kent. FM at least, because there's now commentary of Gillingham's game on DAB. They got an early kick-off today against Chesterfield. Ray will continue from the city end of the ground. Everson waits for Ray then. Going for a bit of a drive on the walk there. He's played and missed, and it's through to the keeper. Yeah, and we're not far away from a conclusion, to be honest, in this game now. Kent trailing by 58 runs, but they are 8 wickets down in their second innings for 206. Joey Everson is there on 40, not out, but unfortunately for Kent fans, he hasn't found too many partners out there today. Jack Leaning was out LBW for 19, and that kind of got the ball rolling for the home side. Tuandami Yeye and Grant Stewart both carrying injuries, batted bravely but were dismissed fairly cheaply. Charlie Stobo, the overseas, out first ball as well. Matt Parkinson has nicked off to the wicketkeeper off Barnard. Hannon-Dalby has taken 6 of the 8 wickets with a couple for Ed Barnard. So yeah, Warwickshire, having got 420 in their first innings with a double 100 for Will Rhodes, are looking good for possibly even an innings victory. And certainly from a Kent point of view, they look doomed at the bottom of the Division 1 table with 3 games to go as Everson whips this away into the onside for a few runs at least. He's trying to show some stubbornness and some resistance and showing what he can do out there, but unfortunately it doesn't look like it's going to be enough, and another defeat is on the way for Kent. They are 209 for 8, a couple of wickets away from defeat here at Edgbaston. Commentary continues online via the BBC Sport app and website, and you can ask your smart speaker, say to it, ask BBC Sounds to play Warwickshire against Kent Day 3. So that was actually a nice clip by Everson into the onside, and they ran through for 3.
Am I concentrating on Michael Ray's over, or were you? I can't remember which.
I think it was you.
We changed ends. My apologies.
We did, that's okay.
Michael Ray was a straight delivery which Ogborne defends well. He looks like a well-organised player, possibly in his last moments with Kent, unless his loan deal is extended.
Unless it gets extended, and I guess from a Kent point of view, they were hoping 2 weeks' time that Akeem Jordan's side issue might be okay and that Nathan Gilchrist might be well enough again to play.
Here comes Ray again. Alex Davis has come into silly point. There's a short fine leg, 2 slips. Short leg. I think Warwickshire have got the right to attack, haven't they?
Yeah,
in this situation?
absolutely. Yeah, and I guess you could even argue that if, as we sort of believe, Kent are pretty much down, then probably not much point loaning in players from other teams. You might as well let your own lads have a go.
Indeed, unless they aspire to, or they want to have a look at him to a potential signing. I don't, no idea. But Ray's final ball of that over is well defended by Ogborne, who's defended that over out with some comfort. He's on 4. Everson 43. Kent needing 264 to make Warwickshire bat again. 209 for 8, having lost this morning. Leaning for 19. Maye for 5. Stobo first ball. Stewart for 3. Matt Parkinson for 1. Joey Everson defiant, but in a losing cause, I suspect.
So Barnard in to Joey Everson. Clips it away out towards mid-wicket. They've got, getting a bit of a funky field. There's a gully with a lid on. There's a short leg with a lid on. Short mid-wicket. Mid-on, mid-off are quite deep, inviting the single. There's a deep cover, deep point, deep square, long leg. Or trying to get Everson off strike. As Barnard bowls, and it's all punched in the air past the bowler. If he'd have kind of taken off and gone at the ball Superman style, he might have been able to take a return chance, but realistically he'd have ended up falling hard on the ground and doing what Kent's bowlers like to do and injuring themselves by diving at the ball. So Ed Barnard perhaps wisely decided not to try and pluck that out of the sky acrobatically. Here he comes again. Joey Everson thumps this down the ground for 4. And that's a shot of defiance from Joey Everson, and fair play to him. He has at least done that so far in this morning session here on day 3. Despite the lack of partners, he's faced 91 deliveries for his 47. And as I mentioned earlier on in the game, he's looking for a first half century while batting in the top 5, having been moved up from number 7, where he got 3 half centuries early on in the season. Needs 3 more runs to get it. May well be looking for a single here to protect Ogborne up the other end. In fact, no, he's gone for the shot and he's been dropped at mid-wicket. Bethel was reaching high above his head to try and take the catch and has palmed it over the top like a football goalkeeper. And he took the sting out of it. It's only gone for 2, which is a good effort considering it would have been flying towards that short boundary.
An exceptional fielder. Bethel is angry at himself for not taking it, but it would have been a fine catch.
Would have been a stunner. Barnard bowls, clipped away in the air by Everson. That may well go for 6, into the onside to bring up his half century. And fair play to Joey Everson. Though his Kent team looked destined for defeat, he showed what he can do with the bat. 4 fours and a 6 from 93 balls. He has 55 not out. And Kent 221 for 8.
Yeah, well played, Everson. Gorgeous shot that was. It's quite a short boundary and it was an over-pitched ball, but he picked it up beautifully and popped it into the Holly stand. A well-deserved 50.
Barnard bowls to him. Defends away into the offside. I think he was thinking about trying to dab it and run. Ogborne was quite ready and backing up and was keen to try and get up the other end, but Everson clearly decided in that over that he was eyeing up the half century rather than perhaps keeping the strike for the next over. So it will be Ogborn who will face up to Ray. And Everson 55 not out, Ogborn on 4. The deficit after that over, which was worth 12, has been cut down to 43. I think I just saw on the live stream.
Yeah, that's the number as far as I can see. Let's see if Ogborn can reduce it here. He's facing Ray, and he does reduce it by whipping it down to fine leg for 4. Poor delivery from Michael Ray, and nicely paddled away down to short fine, to very fine leg.
I think he was
Ogborn
expecting it, wasn't he? He almost was sat on that back foot, thinking, I'm getting a short one here, I'm ready to hook it.
225 for 8. I think many of the Warwickshire fans here, wouldn't mind this going on a bit longer. They've sat through an awful lot of grey, cold days in 2024 at Edgbaston. Now they've got a lovely sunny day, and they might have to all go home at lunchtime.
Yeah, absolutely.
So they wouldn't mind a bit of resistance here from Everson and Ogborn. Here comes Ray again, another short delivery, which this time Ogborn fails to connect with his pull through to Michael Burgess.
So if there's any, for the cricket fans in the building right now who don't want to go home, Brian, where can they go this afternoon? What club side could they go watch? What's the sort of Birmingham Premier League game of choice, perhaps?
I don't know the fixtures today, but there will be plenty very close to here. Is again these short delivery by Michael. I'd be really interested, to know if Ray is deliberately bowls short. I haven't spoken to him since he's been here. He's a good, fast attacking bowler, but I just think his stock length, if it was a little further up,
a little bit fuller,
and threatening the bat, it could. I'm sure that Mark Robinson and Stuart Barnes, the bowling coach, are onto this. But it's all short. This is further up, and it beats Ogborn outside the off stump, and perhaps that's a case in point there. If you threaten the stumps and try and bring the slip cordon into play. Yes, I'm sure there's a full Birmingham League programme, and it is a shame. County members all over the country, I think, they do obviously get the championship cricket shunted to both ends of the season, which certainly the front of the season, it does put you at the mercy of a chilly cold spring. Ray is in again, and this is short and edged, I think, between slip and wicketkeeper for 4 by Ogborn. The slip is actually standing somewhere around 2nd or maybe even 3rd, so there is a big gap there.
Yeah, it was a thick edge, wasn't it? I've got the Birmingham and District Premier Cricket League fixtures up for today.
Oh, you're incredible.
So after this delivery, I'll read some out and you can tell me which one's the closest.
Ogborn has moved to 12 from 14 deliveries. 229 for 8. If Warwickshire do have to bat again, that would give the spectators another few minutes in the sunshine. This is edged and caught, and this time Ogborn does not get away with it. It's pitched further up by Michael Ray, and he gets his first wicket of the match as a result. Caught by Rob Yates at first slip. Ogborn goes for 12, and unless George Garrett can bat for a day and 3/4, and many of us would love to see that, but it's unlikely. Kent are on the threshold of a defeat.
Indeed. Maybe just until lunch and make Warwickshire bat again and avoid an innings defeat would be nice. Well, Ogborn has at least given that a good crack. And he hit 2 boundaries in the over, a hook shot away for 4, and then that thick edge, and he's then given the slip fielder a bit of catching practice and picked him out a treat off that final delivery from Ray. So yeah, tough game for Ray because he got whacked around a bit in the first innings, didn't he? 5 overs for 36, and he looked pleased to have picked up that one. Are we going to see Jacob Bethel? I think we might be seeing some spin.
Well, that might be a tempter to Everson.
Yes, I think so.
3 men going back on the leg side boundary. It's a very short leg side boundary.
So yeah, we're going to see a bit of Jacob Bethel. Premier Division 1 fixtures then. Barnard's Green
Barnt Green, that's down in Worcestershire.
are playing against Moseley, who are 38 for 4 at the moment. Berkswell are playing against Barnt Green. So Barnard's Green and Barnt's Green.
Barnard's Green, yeah. Berkswell down in Warwickshire. It's I'll be driving past them probably in about an hour and a half's time. Might pop in. How Berkswell doing?
Berkswell are bowling. Barnt Green are 41 for 2, as this one is turned away out towards square leg, no run. Hales Owen, Hales, have I said that correctly? Against Smethwick, 45 for none. Knoll and Dorridge are playing Himley, as Bethel bowls and Everson takes no singles. He turns it away into the onside.
I think that may well be the one that attracts a few early leavers here.
Okay.
K&D.
Ombersley are playing Kenilworth Wardens, as Bethel bowls and Everson actually came down the pitch to that one and pushed it back towards the bowler. And then there's West Bromwich Dartmouth against Wolverhampton.
Bit of a derby, big local derby, absolutely.
Yeah, that could be a bit spicy.
Kenilworth Wardens counts amongst its former players one Brian Halford, talented leg spinner. Unfortunately, his career didn't go too far.
Here comes Jacob Bethel, left arm spinner, and Joey Everson has launched him into the stand, into the hollies.
Ooh, that's a long way back.
That did go a fair way from Joey Everson. He moves to 61, and Kent 235 for 9. Well, that's kind of why Bethel's been brought on, to see if Joey Everson might go for a shot and hit it straight up in the air. As it was, he hit it 20 rows back.
I think with the boundary of that small distance, it's got to be a miss hit if he's going to be caught, hasn't it? Because if he middles it, that's going to be 6, and that was, I think, almost out of the ground. He collared that one well and truly. Moves to 61.
So Bethel to continue. At this point, does he try and take a single? They've offered it to him pretty much. No fielders have moved. So here comes Bethel. Everson does push it into the onside. Why is he not taking a single there?
Well, he doesn't even want to leave one ball for George. I'd feel very insulted if I was George Garrett, I think. Unless he's going to leave him 6 balls next over. I'm guessing as the field comes in, is this going to be another attempted 6?
Well, surely he's just going to, I'm surprised he hasn't taken the single there. Here comes Bethel again. Everson has hit it for 4 into the leg side. Okay. Yeah. Well, that's clearly the way that Kent are going about this. I'm very surprised that Everson hasn't decided to take the strike for the next over, but he has hit his 100th ball of the innings for 4, having hit a 6 earlier on in the over. So the deficit is now 25, and it's 239 for 9.
It's a little curious, isn't it, that he turns down a single to retain the strike for 1 more ball, and then doesn't try and get a single to 6, but it's a rather small issue in the context of the game.
I guess it is, yeah. And well, on that final ball, he was always presumably going to try and hit it for 4, having turned down the single. And he would have surely trusted Garrett to face 1 ball. In the context of the game, he needs Garrett to face a lot of balls. So,
well, Garrett hasn't put a foot wrong so far. He's about to face his first delivery, and he plays outside the off stump and misses. And I think that's about 3 or 4 balls in a row that Ray has pitched up, and he's taken a wicket and almost taken a wicket with 2 others.
Yeah, that was a good delivery. I bet there's a part of Joey Everson that would rather like to stay batting out there, to be honest, because looks like he's really rather enjoying himself now.
Well, he's 35 away from his second first-class ton. A couple more blows off Bethel, and he could be quite close to it. Garrett flashes at this one and misses outside off stump. That won't fill Joey Everson with too much confidence.
I'm slightly surprised Joey Everson hasn't come down the wicket there and said to George Garrett, if you could stop doing that, please. Yeah. I'd like to face a few more balls.
Perhaps introduce the leave to your repertoire, you might be saying.
One would suggest that you don't need to play that, because it's definitely not going to hit the stumps. So George Garrett himself has just taken a moment to settle his own concentration.
6 close fielders. Ray is in again, straight delivery, and Garrett does get the bat on this. 3 slips, leg slip, short leg, silly point. Ollie Hannon-Dalby grazing up at mid-on, having bowled Warwickshire into this wonderful position.
Yeah, surely his work is
6
done.
for 43. 3 wickets in the first innings as well for Ollie, 9 in the match. Just he's been a giant for Warwickshire in the last few years, carrying the bowling attack at times. Here comes Ray again, down the leg side, and Garrett's attempted leg glance doesn't make connection.
It's interesting that we've only now got this field. Even for Ogbourne, there was just the one wide slip, wasn't there? And now we have the 3 slips, leg slip, short leg, silly point, everyone crowding the bat for their old colleague.
Garrett retakes his guard as Ray decides to come around the wicket to the left-hander. 2 balls of the over to go. And that's lifting outside the off stump. Garrett fends at it and misses it.
Well, there was a shout of catch here, which Michael Burgess did. So...
yeah, I think the catch it came from the bowler.
I'm not sure who thought he nicked it. Well, he's faced 5 deliveries so far. Alex Davis has wandered across the pitch to speak to the short leg fielder and is now going back to silly point. Fair play to the skipper for sticking himself in there.
Ray in again, and Garrett leaves this for 4. He couldn't quite get the ball. He tried to leave it, but the ball hurried onto him and scuttled away through vacant third slip for 4 runs. So George Garrett is off the mark. Kent 243 for 9, needing 21 more to make Warwickshire bat again.
Well, good for George Garrett to get off the mark, even if he didn't mean to, even if it was by accident.
So lunch will not be at 1 o'clock. I don't think. They will play on, won't they? I think if it's 9 down. But this is going to be interesting now. Bethel to Everson with 3 men on the short boundary, but it's the spectators beyond that boundary rope that may need to keep their wits about them if Everson connects again.
Yeah, just you know, for the sake of the travelling Kent fans, 1 over that is a bit more is a bit exciting, just to whet the appetite before they all have to wander off home would be nice.
6 sixes.
Well, now I think we're asking for a bit too much, possibly, especially as there's going to be a bowling change.
Ha!
Bethel's very short contribution is over, and Michael Booth is going to come on to try and remove Joey Everson. So the field is spread all over the shop. There is a slip, but everyone else is pretty much on a boundary somewhere. As Booth bowls to Joey Everson, full delivery, that's an absolute beauty. It's almost put him on the floor, that Yorker from Booth. It was brilliantly kept out, to be honest, from Joey Everson. Well, that was a high standard of cricket all round, really.
Yeah. And very good start from Booth. And there was an easy single there, but probably a wise decision by Everson not to take a single, because if Booth delivers one of those at George Garrett, it could be good night Vienna.
Yeah, here comes Booth again. All chipped in the air by Joey Everson into the onside. Davis will run around and do the fielding, presumably in this over. Everson's either going to be trying to hit boundaries, or he's going to take it to the 4th, 5th ball and look for that single, unlike he did in the previous over, where he just decided that he was going to cash in and try and hit a couple of boundaries. So 2, 4, 3 for 9. Booth bowls. Everson launches. I don't know if he's got enough on this, and he's going to be caught in the deep, and Warwickshire win the game. Davis, the captain, holds on. Booth takes the wicket. Everson out for 65. Kent are all done for 243 in their 2nd innings, and it's a victory by an innings as well for Warwickshire here on home soil.
Warwickshire have their first championship win of the season, belatedly in late August, but my word, they have done it in emphatic style. Will Rhodes' superb double century, supported by Ed Barnard with the bat, and the seamers have done a magnificent job for the Bears. Oliver Hannon-Dalby 9 wickets in the match. Rushworth, Barnard, Booth all contributing, and Warwickshire take a huge stride towards safety in Division 1, and poor Kent, a couple more injuries to think about, another heavy defeat, and a bit of umpiring controversy as well. All the best to Kent for the rest of the season, but it's been a tough 3 days for them.
It has indeed, and they will take any luck that you may offer them, because they may need it for the rest of the season, because they are looking pretty much doomed at the bottom of County Championship Division 1. Warwickshire's players all congratulating one another, a lot of hugs going around as they leave the field. George Garrett at least has a red inker on his return to Edgbaston to leave the field with, but well, we're just seeing the Kent players and some of the other support staff down in front of our commentary position and on the edge of the playing surface. A lot of Kent players in their tracksuit gear and waiting to shake the hands of the opposition as Ollie Hannon-Dalby is applauded off the field. Waves the ball at the crowd and gets a hand from Daniel Bell-Drummond first of all, and Mark Robinson down there as well to shake the hands of the 2 Kent batters who make their way off the field. And yeah, nice scenes at the end of the game as the 2 teams conclude their business against one another. No further fixture, of course, between these 2 remaining this season, and certainly from a Warwickshire point of view, they may well hope that they don't see Kent next season unless it's in a knockout phase of a white ball competition or a one-day cup match perhaps, as the teams head off, and Warwickshire have collected themselves a valuable victory. Another defeat for Kent. Well, thanks very much for joining us on the live stream on the Warwickshire website and via the BBC Sport app and website as well. Alex Winter here with us for the first couple of days. Chloe Brewer for day 1 as well. Many thanks to Brian Halford and to Phil Britt, and myself, Ben Watts from BBC Radio Kent. We shall bid you a farewell, and well, of course we've left a day and a bit out there, so enjoy the rest of your weekend and settle yourself in for some new plans. And thanks very much for tuning in, and we say cheerio from Edgbaston.